But today is a check-in, so I want to go around and hear from you all. And the smaller number will actually be good to give us a little more time. If you want to share and talk about what you did, that would be great. If you don't worry about it. I'll share, I'll just sort of start out here and share my mornings, just to show you, you know, like every entry doesn't have to be like an epic entry. Let me switch to speaker view. Okay. Just, so this morning I went out and I did my metadata, and it was early, relatively cool. And I did my prose, and that really helped me drop into it, so I didn't feel anxious about anything. And I observed that our birds have really changed since we had rain and then the rain stopped. And now it's just all different. And then I watched a couple of, I did a like super fast, just rough sketch of a Gila woodpecker kind of bouncing around and being followed by another one. And I didn't know why it was like retreating as the other one would come closer, and they were doing that. Those of you who know Gila woodpeckers, they go beep, 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 beep. And some people really hate it because they go on and on and on and on. So that's just like a really quick capture, and probably it was getting hot and buggy and mosquito-y, so I came in, and I'll probably do some paint later on today. So that's just an example of, you know, it could be a really simple vignette, and that relaxed me. It took me about 15 minutes, and it was a great fun time. Let's just go around and share. If you'd like to share, don't feel pressure. Just hands up. We'll just go around.
Yeah, I could share.
Okay, great, Tom.
Yeah, I haven't shared before, so I will. I mentioned to you, I think I got some colored pencils that are watercolor. You can then wet them afterwards and get that kind of effect. I haven't done a lot with that, but I did go back and color things I had done before.
Nice landscape.
And thank you. And these are other things that I did the first day, some plants and flowers and cicadas. Other people were talking about cicadas. That's a popular theme here. And then these were this was a bird nest that I found at some point. I have no idea when or where anymore, but it's laying around the house. And this was a owl feather from a family of owls that have been in the neighborhood. And this was done from a photograph that I took of a roadrunner in the yard here. And then I colored that too. And then yesterday we went out to the Verde River near Perkinsville, if you know where that is in Yavapai County. And I made a kind of quick sketch of the creek river, whatever you want to call an Arizona river. I think they'd be creeks in other places, but here a creek is a place where there's some trees and rocks. And
yeah,
no water.
exactly.
That's what a creek is in Arizona, usually. So this was a good example of biting off more than I could chew, right? Got way too complicated with both banks and the water and the rocks. And what I was actually interested in was the water going over the rocks, but I got less detail on that because I tried to put in too many things. So my question would be, and you mentioned it a little bit, I tend to do more photography, and I still find photography of nature more satisfying than my little sketches of nature. So some of these things, like I mentioned, the Roadrunner I drew from a photograph, and I took a picture on the Verde there yesterday of a hepatic tanager, which I could draw much better from the photograph than I could of this little red thing that was bouncing around. I had a better lens too, you know, I could zoom in on it, which I can't do I guess I could do with binoculars, but that's tough to sketch with binoculars, I would think. Anyway.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about that actually.
Okay.
I'm going to do a little short talk about tools. So it really depends on your goals. So I tend to use the sketching for a number of reasons, and how I approach it will change. So yes, sometimes I do photographs of what I want. If I want to do a more detailed drawing, I do like photographs. My husband and I have long been, photojournalists and written magazine articles. So we do have really good lenses and do a lot of photography. But if the drawing goal is to study something and learn from it, like behavior of the roadrunner, and you're not going to be worried about super detail. You're just going to go really sketchy, like I did with the Gila woodpeckers. I wanted to capture that they were like moving, and this one was hopping along. So I wouldn't have done a portrait of the Gila woodpeckers. I just wanted a little sketchy sketch. So if you want a good portrait, then yeah, I think a photo would be really helpful. And Catherine also asked, so how do you manage your photos too? So say you went down to the Verde, you got the hepatic, love that bird. And maybe you do some gesture sketches, some quick sketches like I did, to capture behavior of the bird, and then do some really good photos. When you get back, I've got a folder that called Nature Journal Pages, and I do it by month, year, month, and then August 8th, I'll drop those photos into there along with photos or scans of the pages too. And then as I'm working in the future, I'll actually have that in my journal too. Photographed hepatic tanager, Verde River, August 8th, 2020. And then you'll know where to go to find the photo.
So you scan your
Nice. Yeah, that's
sketch pages? You scan your pages?
I use my iPhone actually to do a really good photo. I've gotten pretty good about I have a daylight light right here on my desk, and then I can hold the phone so there's no shadow, and that captures it really well. That's all the things that you see of my pages is iPhone, and that's iPhones. Apple cameras are super high quality. In fact, I'm gonna bite the bullet and order the damn new iPhone 11 because the cameras are.
That's what I just got.
Are they amazing?
It's stunning, and I compare. I just am constantly amazed.
Okay, we'll talk about that in the tools. Yeah. So thank you, Catherine. So Tom, I lost you. So I muted everybody because we were getting every time there was a little blip, I would lose Tom. So go ahead and mute yourself after you talk. So Tom, so thank you. Oh, well, thank you very much. That was awesome. And we will go back and talk tools too. So, and among that will be binoculars, spotting scopes, and how you can use those and sketch at the same time.
Okay, good.
It involves juggling. So who wants to go next? Hand up, Angie, then Catherine. You're the first two I saw, so unmute.
There, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I went out camping with my husband for a couple nights, and we were up the West Fork of the Bitterroot River at the southern end of the Bitterroot Mountains in Montana. And I did a little page each day. And Roseann, I'm kind of adopting your notebook idea. I want to play around with that. And I'm into, I guess, little landscapes. I'm not so much interested in, since I've been a botanist and biologist my whole career, I've done a lot of field notebooks without sketching. but I'm more interested in just kind of that connecting with that scene and being, as opposed to learning a lot more about nature. But I'm just, even with my experience, just being out there and being present and quiet, it's just amazing what you do see. And my husband, while I did this little drawing, he was sitting by the creek with a little pool, and he said these trout just came up and stopped right in front of him, and one of them looked at him. I can't hear you, but
Not talking. I'm not
okay.
talking.
Anyway, so I think that's a good example of just being fully present, and that's what I am hoping to connect with. So I'll just quickly put up, I just did a little drawing and little sketches, and then like my plant. I couldn't remember, I've been gone from Montana for 20 years, and so I was trying to remember what this plant was. It's a Bocchenia in the saxifrage family. I knew it, but it was kind of fun to reconnect. And then I did a little, here I was doing some plant lists. I did common names, and then the next day I did scientific names, but here's a little lily, twisted stalk, which is common in the mountains. You can see my plant list. I'm all about plants. And then I did a little how do you say it,
Landscapito.
The granite rocks and some lady fern, and anyway, but I feel like it's going to take me a while. I am not sure what metadata I want to collect and in what kind of format, and the artist in me wants the pages to be, somewhat attractive to me. And so I think it's fun to try, and it'll be fun to kind of work that part out.
Great. Those are great. And yes, it just takes a while to develop your own, what you like. Just keep experimenting. There's I have some hilarious older pages where I was experimenting with new styles and things. And I look back at them, sometimes I go, oh, I got real arty, you guys might know, like the art journals where people cut things out and do that kind of stuff. It just wasn't me. I'm more like you, science background. So mine ended up being more that I like that kind of style. So you'll all find your own styles. There's no one right way. There's no ever rules on that. So just keep enjoying that. And
Yeah.
I love your landscapitos. I'm with you. And thank you for mentioning, the getting in the moment, because that's what it really is about. And that's where you get that kind of self-care meditative thing, without getting too touchy-feely Sedona-y here. It's still really, really wonderful and really good for you. It releases all sorts of great things to your brain. So
Right. And, it's one thing to like walk through the woods and go, oh, that's that plant. And I'm always, kind of rattling them off in my head. But it's like when I sat down and looked at that Bocchenia, there was, a really cool green spider that who knows if it was specific to that plant. And then there were spittle bugs that had, in the kind of clasping leaves, and it's things that you just don't see when you're walking by, which is really fun. I have a question on, I'm going to play around with the papers I like, and I wondered, you said you use the bee paper. I just used heavy hot press paper because I kind of like smooth, and I was curious about your bee paper. Is it a textured paper that you use?
yeah, I'm so happy because it finally came in stock. I literally picked it up 3 days ago. Let me just show you, because I've tried so many different ones. So it's B is the brand, and it is 90 pound, 200 GSM, and it's it's cold press. So it's got a slight surface, but it's smooth enough that it takes pen super nice. And it's
And that's
100%, it's all cotton. So, oh my goodness, it just behaves nicely with watercolor and ink. I think I told, go ahead.
Can you up one more time?
Whoop,
Yeah.
wait,
Okay, got it. Okay.
yeah, and I'm going to be offering these in my shop.
Okay, cool.
Just have to
Yeah.
get them in there. And
You
also, I'm having the bee paper bound into a spiral journals. This is bee paper in a spiral journal that I'm going to also offer on the shop. I got them from the printer and they forgot to put the cardboard in the back, so I have to send them back. Anyway, I'll have that if anyone wants to play. Otherwise, you can do your own thing. So I just really like that paper. And I spent this spring trying 5 or 6 other papers, and I just didn't like them, especially when I accidentally got the cheap, horrible paper. Oh my goodness, you saw some results from it. It just was not a good paper. So, and bee paper is not expensive. So let's see, I think Catherine was next. Thank you very much. Angie, that was awesome.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Actually, similar to what Angie was saying, I'm struggling still trying to figure out how I want my page to be laid out and what metadata and what information I want to enter in. So I feel like that's still a work in progress. But I, 2 things. One is I actually ordered an art toolkit. That's the link that you provided us. And I ended up getting the little, because I'm not going to make the cool thing you have. I'm just not going to make that. So I decided to get one of these. And it comes stocked with stuff, which is very cool, including, which I'm in love with, is the brush.
Yay.
Is beautiful. And rosemary brush.
Yes.
And then the cool little, she has different options for the little palettes, but this is how small it is. It's like itty bitty, that little colors. So I just started playing with that. So I ended up this week coloring in, just playing with the watercolor on the drawings that we did last week. So that's a ginkgo leaf. And these are the sketches that I had already done. And then my fig, I painted in. I like it so much better with the color. So I was actually getting frustrated by all the black and having the writing in black and the drawings in black. So the color helps a lot. And that's why when I actually started doing the writing in blue, so it would stand out. But then when I colored this in, it helped a lot. So these are lotus flowers. And one thing I learned is that lotuses are different from lilies, water lilies. And I have a pond near me, so that was a fun thing to learn. And so it was fun to color these in and play with the colors. And I'm still trying to figure out how to do animals. There were some ducks swimming by, so that was a little messy. But that's where I had like video of the ducks that I took with my phone, right? And some photos, and I'd like to be able to like kind of tie things in. So trying to like figure out how to get more organized. So here
I did like, you sent those earlier, and I did like your really quick, messy sketches of the ducks. That was super. And then later you could go back to your videos and do another page. Even if the day's not related, just say, refer to page number, date number,
Okay.
and then spend the morning doing a finished drawing.
Okay. Yeah, well, I kind of do want to, and that's why I'm trying to like, not that there are rules, right? You said there are no rules, but at the same time, it's kind of like, is that like, some way, tainting the process, if I'm mixing like
No.
things versus the things I'm doing.
Remember, journals are a continuum. It's not a page and then a perfect page and then another perfect page. It's a continuous story of your journey exploring nature. So, even if 5 weeks from now I go back, I'm going to go back and sketch some flowers I saw in Mount Graham in mid-July because I want to, because I enjoyed it. So I'm going to do some more, and I'll refer to that trip and the page in my journal and say, hey, because it's bloody hot here. I'm not going to be doing a lot outside.
Well, that's the thing, right? And that's exactly, or it starts getting dark or whatever. So that's helpful because I was like kind of, getting unnecessarily stuck in that, thinking about the process too much, and also getting too obsessed with the information that I was recording, like rather than like, so, and then that would take up the whole page and like trying to figure things out.
You can't be too obsessed about information. That's okay. If you have 5 pages of pure text, that's awesome too.
Okay, all right. And
that just means you were geeking out.
Right, and if it's easier to take a photo and I don't do the drawing, but I have the photo and then all the text, like again, trying to like connect those things. So,
just let it flow. Let it flow.
Yeah, okay. And then this is what I did also this week. And this is it's how you pronounce it, mole skin?
I think it's just moleskine.
That came with the little packet that I bought. So it's watercolor paper and it fits in the little carrier. So these are purple cone flowers. And so this, I went out and started the sketch, and I actually used pencil. Then it was really windy and it got dark. And so I went back out yesterday evening to finish drawing, and last night finished the painting, and I actually brought one inside so I could do it. So it's kind of getting dried out now, but so that was really fun to try a composite. So anyway, I had fun with it. And it's interesting to try to do this. So I was looking at the details of the disc flowers, the head there, and it's just so hard to convey the dimensionality of it because it's a cone. Obviously, it's a cone flower, and it just has all these little things poking out, and so it's hard to capture that.
You did a good job. And one of the things you'll learn is to maybe mix a little bit of gray using, I think Maria's palettes that you bought include some good colors for making your own gray, or she might even include Payne's gray.
No, it doesn't have that.
Well, you can mix your own gray with a blue and a red.
Okay.
Like just experiment, and then just a tiny little wash of shadow at the bottom of the cone will make it look roundy.
Okay.
Just keep experimenting. It works. You'll get it. That was awesome.
It was lots of fun.
Cool. Thank you very much for sharing. That's wonderful. Let's see. Going back to gallery view. Michelle, and then, okay, Martha had raised her hand earlier, so we'll do Michelle, Martha, and Sai in that order. So.
So I did a lot of stuff in my yard, a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening. There's a cicada bug that was crawling on me, so I tried to sketch it as I was trying not to have it crawl under my shirt. And then there were some desert spiny lizards. I'm terrible at drawing, but I tried to just capture them doing push-ups on the rocks. And then the Texas sage was starting to bloom, so I wanted to try and capture that. And then I just did a bunch of landscape photos of different parts of the yard. And then here's another one, a little more metadata. Yeah, and then trying to figure out what I want to do with the metadata. And I think for me, my question is clouds. So clouds as the sun setting and the colors and maybe rain. And I tried to capture it, but I just felt really inadequate. I was like, the colors, but I can't, I don't know.
So clouds and sunsets are super hard, so don't worry about it. I am honestly just now getting to the point where I feel like I can do most clouds and sky, but only about 50% of the time. The other time I'm like, eh. So there's whole workshops on doing clouds and sky with watercolor. And maybe we can do like a workshop at some point. We'll just have a couple of hours where everybody can can share their sky and sunset techniques. So don't worry about that. It's actually really hard. And I love the fact that you jumped in, did the spiny push-ups, which is
Yes.
so adorable and great. And that's the only way we'll all like move forward, is you have to just jump in and do it.
Yeah. Well, is there any like maybe one technique that I could maybe start trying with the skies, something so I can kind of work on? I know it won't be perfect.
No, it's just some tips about sky. Is you want to make sure you're definitely using transparent watercolors a little easier, and you start with the lighter. So you'll do a wash of the lightest blue maybe, and then say you're trying to capture like there's some crazy tangerine colors. While it's still damp, you're gonna have to try to add an orangey color, and practice ahead of time. You know, just do some fake sunsets and stuff. And the lifting part, you can use a paper towel or a Kleenexes work better to dab and try to pull some clouds out. It's actually, like I said, it's pretty advanced. It's not something, it's great that you're just trying to tackle it, but don't expect like results right off the bat. There are people who take years to develop that. So I'll look up some resources and post some on good skies and clouds.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was just super fun, and I didn't do a lot of writing. I just wanted to try painting and drawing, which I'm not great at, but it was fun exploring.
And that's why a lot of people say, well, do you have to add drawings and painting? It's like, no, you don't have to, but like a couple people have already mentioned, I find it really fun and satisfying to add the color. You know, the color suddenly is like, ooh, then I really like it. I have been trying to force myself to do just pen and ink, which is a whole other challenge and kind of fun too. But I always go back to my colors, because the colors are just, it's part of why I do it, is to relax and have fun. So great. Love that. Those are wonderful. Fantastic. So, and if you want, ping me out, like after the class, I can work with you on your colors. So we can definitely do that. So let's see. Thank you, Michelle. Then we had Martha. Yes. Everybody moved around on the screen again.
Hey, so I've been doing kind of a mixed bag, but I want to start with, this is just a little sketch of my garden. And if you had told me a week ago that I could do this little sketch, I would have laughed at you because I wouldn't have believed it. And I just love it. It's just one of those things that I love the way it turned out. And then I did another little landscape-ito across the road from me is a red barn. And so I want to do that one several times and kind of develop it more. But the other thing that's got me totally distracted this week is monarch butterflies. And so I've got a bunch of text about monarchs and a leaf. Oh, this way?
Yeah.
And I've also, believe it or not, I just hatched a monarch butterfly egg this morning. So I'm very excited. And it just confirms for me why I never had human children, because I've been over there looking at it like every half hour, like something's gonna happen. You know, I mean, it's the size of an ant right now. It's just not doing that much. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I can keep it alive and then, you know, hatch it and let it go free.
Wow.
So,
you'll have to journal that every stage of it.
I know.
So it'll become such an obsession. So it's such a delightful thing. That's wonderful. Well, congratulations on your baby.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And fabulous. So glad to hear that you tried the drawing and you were happy with it, isn't it? It's just really nice to do that. Your landscape ito's great.
Thanks.
Keep at it. You know, Wonderful.
And then-
Wonderful.
And then there's some sketching that's not that great, you know, and I get that. There's going to be some
It's
that
for
is and some
you,
that
it's, you
isn't.
know,
But it was, I was pretty delighted with just a week of it. So thank
fantastic.
you.
Fabulous. Yay. Let's see, then I think we have Sai, yeah?
Good morning. Good morning. Couple quick things. I've been trying to do a regular, I'm not very disciplined, a regular practice of just writing in my journal. And since I'm also a weather geek, without a weather station, I've been adding metadata to all of my entries, regardless of what time of day. So that's been kind of fun. And then while we were sitting here, I was coloring in some of the, you know, like the sun and the thunderclouds and all of that. But I haven't really sat down and done anything in my yard because the yard that I've rented is actually pretty boring. But as I was listening, there's a tree in a friend's backyard that I really have fallen in love with. It's amazing. And we raked out the root system and it's just incredible. It's like what you used to play with little army guys or cowboys and Indians as a kid. So I'm going to ask permission to go sit in the backyard and do that. However, I discovered in my mother's old dried up paints, French ultramarine blue. So I found a really good use for French ultramarine blue, and it is now in my hair. Because I've got white hair, why not? And I've been using all this like CVS color salon colors, and I can't find a blue I like. And I saw this and I loved it. So I now paint my hair blue. Not on the scalp because I don't know if it's toxic, but
Yeah, you want to be careful with that.
I went to town to go pick up some errands. It was in the bookstore, and all these younger kids were like, "Oh my God, where'd you find that color?" Windsor and Newton. So what I did do was, because I just love this color, it's my favorite color in the world, was because I did such a bad job of mixing the colors last time, I just tried playing with like how to mix the colors and then just making a mess. But you were talking about lifting. So I'm thinking like, this is just candle wax that I just did and then I painted over that. Then this was just a crumped up t-shirt, but I realized the folds were making a repeating pattern. This one I like the best because then I crumpled up. I don't know if you can see that. Is that good? That was better crumbled. And if you could see it in real life, it looks like a sort of bluish cloud. So I'm going to play with colors a little more with that. And so I just did more work with the lifting and then the salt. Regrettably, it was kosher salt, but each one of those little blotches actually has a darker blue center. So they look like tiny little pale blue flowers with a blue center.
So explain that to people on what you did.
I just
The
threw
salt.
the watercolor down and then sprinkled it with salt.
While it was still wet.
Yeah, and just waited it for it to dry and then sort of brushed it off.
And what happens is the salt pushes the pigment away in these lovely starbursty fun patterns. So I actually also keep a little bit of salt in my kit sometimes in a little tiny vial if I want a texture-y thing. But that's why she did that.
Yeah, because I have your little book and it told me what to do. So yes. And then the other things, I just played with white gouache into the wet just to see what would happen. And then I just made the blue around the outside and then put white in here to see how it would bleed, just because I've never really done a lot with it. But the coolest thing of all was in the drawing. I have a journal. I'm working with somebody on some PTSD kind of things. And I always used to draw myself like a balloon with an untethered string. So she texted me the other morning to ask how I was. And without even thinking, I wound up drawing, I don't know if you can see it, a little tree, and there's roots. I wasn't even thinking about what I was doing. It was just I had the class in mind, and I wanted to just do a little cartoon in my notebook, and that's what came out. And I was like, oh, cool, things are getting better. So I'm thrilled, and I do want to do this when I go out hiking, but this is a start for me of developing a new discipline, so I'm really grateful for that. Thank you so much. And I love the blue in the hair, man. I'm going to be playing with all kinds of color now. All right. Thank you so much.
That is so
awesome.
awesome.
It was great to see the thing that was doing the push-ups. I love it when people who say they don't know how to draw do it anyway. It just gives me joy. So thanks, whoever that was.
That was Michelle. Awesome. Yeah, I love it. Love it. Love it. That is just what it's all about. I love their roots under your feet. That was really cool. I love that. And Michelle, so you saw the clouds, and French ultramarine blue is a really popular sky color because it does lift nicely. It's really grainy, and it creates these gorgeous textures and stuff. So that we can play with that. Anyone who wants to, maybe we'll do a session on colors, and you guys who are just starting out can play with that. Who wants to go next? Connie, and then Christine. Oh, I don't think you're mute. You need to unmute.
Yep.
There we go.
Okay. Well, this is the one that I did this last week. I kind of get caught up in what I'm looking at. So this is Huntington Gardens, which is a huge garden here in San Marino, or next to Pasadena, California. But I was so excited because I've never seen a nut tree probably of any kind, but certainly a macadamia nut. It's a huge, very towering tree in the middle of the Australian garden. But I get so excited because all of these nuts was on the ground in different forms of being kind of tinier, and they were beginning to crack open, but I'm not sure if squirrels helped them crack them open, but they kind of came in different shapes and such. And so I jump in with the tree and jump in with the nuts, and then it's like, okay, where are you going to put your metadata if you're going to put anything on there? So I went back to the tree. I snuck all my metadata, the sunshine and all kinds of stuff, the dates and all that into the tree, with beginning to put more information in and around the sides. But I love doing it. I get very caught up into the detailing of it. My history has been more play and color and such, so it's very hard for me to leave something uncolored or undetailed to some extent. So that's kind of what I worked on. I thought that I would share one thing. I got the work of doing this sent me off to do something else. So sometimes, even though I might not find myself this being my major form of what I do, because this Huntington Gardens has 18 different types of gardens. It's got a cactus, a lily pond, the Australian, the Chinese, the Japanese, the rose garden, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm trying to do something in every one of them in terms of a picture. This is the Australian, so it got the nature journaling page. But I had done a pond one, and I'll show you the pond, which I disliked very much because it just seemed boring. But only because I took this class would I have ever thought to add detail that pulled it forward. That was because I remember standing there watching the dragonflies and butterflies over this bush. So the nature journaling has creeped over into some of my other type of journaling about the lily pond, and I think it totally changed the story that is about the lily pond, which I thought was just a non-story. And dragonflies are very plentiful right now in the garden. They're red ones to different colored ones, and so the cross learning between nature journaling to other kind of journaling to even artwork becomes it's kind of amazing what it does, and you don't even realize it's happening. So
that is so fabulous. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because that was perfect example when you go back to just holding the page. Yep. So you can't tell the scale there. You can't. So that's what she was referring to. It's like, it's great, but it doesn't tell the story. And then when you add something, another element to it again for scale. And now it's like, oh yeah, that's the
Yeah.
pond and there's a detail. Love it. Thank you for
I
sharing
mean,
that.
you could
That's-
almost feel the whole atmosphere come over you when you
Mhm.
add the second one. Before that, you feel kind of closed in and maybe even claustrophobic and heavy and whatever. And you add this one, it's just like sunlight and action and nature. And yeah, it was a total bloom. And I was so excited when I did that. So I thought I got to share it because it's a crossover between two art forms, or two forms in doing some art that I thought was fun. So that's been my week.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Let's see. I think we had where everybody's moved around again. Christine, there you are.
I'm here with my massive journal, the big guy. So I actually was only able to get out a couple times this week, but I did have a chance to do a little color. So I just did the Landscapito, if you could see. And what happened with that, I had used a gel ink that ran, it wasn't permanent. And so I ended up using some colored pencil and some watercolor, both. But I did that wash on the sky that you had, wetted the paper and then just put the blue, and that was sweet. That was a whole new thing. And this color is all new for me. So that was a good practice, of which there needs to be a lot more. I did find, so I've got one of these Cotman watercolor kits, which you're likely very familiar with, but it's pretty sweet how it has all these palettes. And Roseann, I love your setup, but this is just because I happen to have this, someone gave it to me a while back. So, the cute little brush right here, and then your little water, and then this is all palette, and then these, the colors. And so it's just kind of a fun little thing that I was glad I had
Nice.
available. And so now you're really going to laugh, because the other journal I already had been going with my practice before this class, which I will go to the 6x9 once I run out of this, but I've got this little mini guy now. So this is the little guy. So I was out, and it's in pencil, so it's going to be hard to see, but I just really appreciated being out and observing how experiential a learner I am. And so that's something so I am a naturalist guide in Zion National Park, and I read a lot of information, and I just don't retain stuff that I'm not really embedded with. And this has really pointed that out. So as a practice for me to journal on things that I will, be sort of sharing with folks once, I think our season's been very light right now, but I just really appreciate that. And the metadata, oh, and I guess one other, I did get out, I only had a few minutes, but I was in a park, and I've just always been curious about how to do depth. And so I just did this tree line and just did a little bit of the scaling with, kind of the, as the trees went back to, and the tree proportions themselves. And so that was helpful.
That was great.
So, and then the metadata, what I have landed upon just out of my own curiosity, always been kind of a weather nerd, but more in an anecdotal sense. So I'm really realizing how short I've been falling in my previous practice, just with kind of my own observational little blurb here about the breeze and maybe a temperature, and but making to do this each time, and then looking around where I live, because there's a lot of microclimate action around different topography, just slight different elevations in the desert makes such a difference. And so I'm really fascinated in terms of the metadata across different places where I would be out and about. And so that's something I really will keep trying to do in as much detail, which now I'm seeing that's what it's all about.
Nice
So
to hear. Thank you.
That's sort of where I'm at, and just it's been eye-opening in many ways.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm really glad to hear some of the techniques and things are working for you. And it'll really enhance your memory to sketch and write it down and things like that. So
Yeah.
excellent, excellent. Who was next? Jan? And then anyone else after Jan, and then I can go into tools, Jan and Bonnie and Kathy. Great. So Jan, then Kathy, then Bonnie, then Kathy. Oh, and Carmen's gonna go too, so.
Okay, so I'm gonna, I haven't been outside of my backyard really because the heat has just been a little on the much side. And I'm gonna start with the one that I dislike the most, which I did on Monday. And it's a, it's a Palo Verde beetle. And then I tried to do the spikes on the head. But you know what? I have a lot of problems with color too. I mean, I took a lot of notes, so I know what a Palo Verde beetle is, but I could not for the life of me make black. And I used yours. Everything came out gray or brown. I could not get to black. And so I kind of make a mess.
It takes some practice to do the black. You have to keep, adding a little bit and a little bit of each color until it hits, and you have to mix it really, really thoroughly in the palette, and then all of a sudden it'll pop. So usually it's not adding enough of the blue, but then you'll get too much blue, and then you'll add a little bit more of the red or the burnt sienna. But just keep practicing, you'll get it. But otherwise, just use whatever you've got at hand.
Okay, well, I've been using your little kit, and I'm like almost out of yellow because
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I decided that sticking with the backyard, I really wanted to learn the birds in my yard. But again, the color, because the top one's a verdant, supposedly, and the bottom one is black-tailed flycatcher, I think. And when I took a lot of notes, and then what I did was I came in and I looked it up on the Audubon website, so I could actually draw it because it was just too far away. And I have an iPhone, but the camera's not good enough. It's an old one. It's not good enough for one to go in. So color is one issue, and then the other issue, excuse me, is when you make a giant mistake, like I think this is a Say's Phoebe, but you see the neck, that was an unintentional goiter that I added. It's like, how do you get rid of something once you
don't, you just do like you did and make it part of it, and just embrace it.
Yeah, well, I was almost at the point of ripping the page out and starting over, and then I thought,
try not to do that. Just make it,
nobody else has to see it.
use lots of lines and make it so that your final lines are the strongest ones, and then it just becomes a really sketchy sketch, and you're not trying to be like super perfect, but that worked great, and you just naturally ignore the other lines.
So and this bird was sitting on a heart thing that we have hanging from a tree.
Nice.
So I was trying to get, I'm about done. We're going up to Greer in 2 weeks, so I'll have something else to look at.
Nice. Well, those were great, and great job just jumping right in. And if you want some tips on the color, maybe we'll just do a color session in a week or so. Because it does take practice, but keep at it, because you can make a gorgeous black from those, but it takes a little practice. So.
But do you do the when you're practicing with the color, do you do that right in the journal, or do you use another piece of paper to try to find the color?
Sometimes I'll just keep a scrap piece of paper,
okay.
Or I'll do little test dots on the very, very bottom or corner of the journal page.
Okay.
You'll see lots of people do that. You'll see little test dots until you get the color just right. And then you can even take notes on what colors worked best.
Thank you.
Great. So we had, everybody's moved around again. Kathy and Bonnie. So Kathy, you go, then Bonnie, and then Marty. Okay, unmute.
Unmute myself. Okay, did we want to try to bring my picture in?
Yeah.
The one, how do we do that? And I'm sorry, everyone, to have to put you through this, but
That's all right.
okay, so how do I do it? Screen share?
Yes, so click screen share down at the bottom and just do desktop.
Wait, I see it.
And we're about to see it, I think.
Well,
now, how can we, I'm
how
not
can
seeing.
you, why isn't it up on the top is what I want to know. It's down in the bottom. So let's get rid of, oh, you know, I might end up going totally out. I'm not going to do it. Stop. Because I'm afraid I'm going to totally mess it up and I don't want to waste everybody's time while I'm learning. I'll do it next time. I will have it next time. Anyway, you can probably maybe see this. I don't know. Yeah. Can you see
Hold it up?
All right. Can you see that all right? So
hold it up just a little bit. Up. There we go. And back toward you. And now up. Great.
Okay, so these pages were actually done in your class. So that's your, you know, using your paint technique and everything. But what this did, I think, when I started to look at just a pot of zinnias, it was raining so much. I'm in Southern Illinois. And then all of a sudden last week, it got gorgeous. We had some really cool mornings and I was out gardening. We went canoeing. I'm sorry, I didn't do a lot of drawing. I must apologize, but it got me really interested in how a zinnia is formed. And so I just went online and got some information, and a lot of the stuff's in pencil, so I don't know if you guys can see that or anything, but I just started to wonder like where that seed comes from. Where do the seeds come from? Here's the seed head. So I did some of that, and then one day I was out at 7:30 in the morning and it was 55 heavenly degrees, and I was just sitting out in a chair on my deck watching squirrels, and I've tried to draw squirrels before. They're so fast. They change positions every few minutes, but they're so incredible because they can hang like with their tails up, or they can hang with their tails down. And so I just did a whole lot of sketches of squirrels trying to get them.
Those were awesome. So everybody, that was a great technique Kathy used.
All right,
just
so this
filling
this
the page.
Just squirreling around, I guess you might say. Can you see that?
Go back a little. So hold it steady, like.
Hold it steady. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, so there's some that, like one, I just did the tail, and anyway, I want to do a whole lot more squirrels, and actually I think I need to do some studying of their actual skeletal structure, because there must be something in their hips that allows them to flatten their bodies like that and practically curve around a tree. And the next day I was out again and I realized, no, it was the same day, but it was the afternoon, so I didn't do my metadata, and I was just doing, I just sat there and wrote down everything I was seeing. And these are my birds. Can you see that? Okay. You can sort of see them.
Yes.
All right, so those guys are, I had, basically we're having like just a lot of goldfinches right now, and the males are in their full wonderfully gold and black plumage, and chickadees, and then we have a bird here called a rufous-sided towhee. And I don't know if we're in Southern Illinois, if you probably don't have that bird in the West, or do you?
Yeah, we do.
You do, okay. Well, that, and then the other thing I did, and this is last, I got this cool book. Because
Michelle, write that one down.
Yeah, this is the Book of Clouds, and this is, I just thought it's so hard to wait outside for certain clouds, and then I don't know what their names are, but this one tells you all about the cloud, what the height of it is and everything. And I started to draw it in pencil. I'm working on it. And I realized it probably using paint would be a whole much better way to show them like you did. Because the only one that came out sort of good is this one is called a cumulonimbus, and it's just like this huge storm cloud thing. And, you know, just, I did a little farm and there's the cloud coming up, but it's just trying to make something as airy as a cloud look three-dimensional is really super hard. But I'm almost this book is almost gone. I had to order a new book. I just keep going and going. So I'm very thrilled to be part of this whole group, and thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. That's just super. That's so great to hear. I think, you know, maybe in a month, I'd like to just call another one of these meetings. We can all get together if we want, and just have another share with each other. That would be awesome. Let's definitely do that. So why don't we go Bonnie, Carmen, and Marty.
Okay. Well, I told you guys that I was going to do this all on iPad mini. So lots of learning, but just to give you kind of a frame, my background is all in art. So I have a degree in art, and I taught in painting, and I taught graphic design. So I have those kinds of skills, but biology, botany, not since high school. So my intention here was just to figure out, to learn more about what I was drawing, because I go out and do line drawings all the time, meditative line drawings. So this morning I just sat down for a few minutes and wrote a few things down. The one thing that came up right away is that close observations raise questions. And I'm sort of a perfectionist type person, and so it's like, I don't know that, and kind of freaked me out at the beginning. But then I decided, well, just put a lot of question marks, which I did, so answers will come in time. And Tom and I learned how to do desktop publishing together at Yavapai College, and we'd frantically try to learn something, and it just takes time. So it's like, okay, I don't know it now, but I might know that in 3 months. So that's sort of, I'm using that with learning all of these things. And so the main point of that part of it is for me to find enjoyment in the questions, and there are lots of them. Then I also noted that, gathering data from several sources, again, is sort of very new for me, that more science aspect. But as I'm drawing or making these notes out in the forest, in Prescott, a forest is 3.5 miles from me. I live right smack in the middle of town, and I can go, well, really 3 miles and get into a forest. And so we're sort of surrounded by all these things, and so I can go out pretty easily. But I said drawing is intimate and meditative, and time goes away. And that happened to me over and over again, and it was really cool.
That is so cool, because that's what I tell everyone. You won't believe what's going to happen. You're going to look up, and an hour will have gone by, and you'll think it's 2 minutes. Yeah.
And for me to not have not necessarily worry about having a product, something that's going to be a painting or something. And so, as far as that idea of the being out in nature, I made a notation that
I can't tell what that is.
Not me. Oops. Another Zoom meeting. Okay. Anyway, so the idea of immersive relationship in the natural world, to that I really become a part of it. And I think that's how it is all the time. We just don't know it because the other, agendas are going.
Mhm.
So learning tools that are less familiar, measurement apps. Oh my gosh, lots of little apps on my phone. Metadata gathering. Never done anything like that before, and that one's a work in progress. And then this Procreate program on the iPad Mini. I'm getting a lot more comfortable with it, but this just really gives me ways to what I would call play. It gives me ways to play with it and learn. And and so that for me is freedom to experiment and learn without judgment. And again, for the perfectionist, judgment is right there all the time.
Yes, I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's just wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, Christine, you said you have to go. Oh, okay. Goodbye, Christine. Thank you. I know we've got just a few minutes. Like we're going to go a little bit over accidentally. So, thank you. Sorry, we've.
Thank you.
We'll
No,
catch you in a future one. We'll have a.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye. So that's it, basically. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So Carmen and then Marty. And I'll do a quick tools for those of you who can hang around. And Grace and I need to go as well by like 20 after because we're going to go catch her premiere on YouTube. So Carmen.
Okay, I'll try to make this short. I woke up Tuesday and there had been a fire in the area. So I did this, and I was going to suggest to Michelle, the way I do skies is I lay out water on the area that I want to cover for the sky and then just drop colors, different colors into it. So that's one way to just experiment with it that's fun. And I tried different media this week. I did get some gouache, which is an opaque watercolor. I'm not sure I see much difference, but these were transparent colors. This is a sunflower bud. And my question with my sunflowers is last year the javelinas came up on our deck and ate all my sunflowers. And then so we put a gate in, and now this year there's some kind of a pest eating the leaves. And I'm not sure, I haven't found out what it is, but this is gouache, the gouache that I used. And it still looks a lot like transparent watercolor.
You'll see the trick she used there to put the background behind it, made it pop out. That's a great.
And that's one way you could cover up a mistake too, your goiter, whatever that was. And then this was colored pencil, and that's a gray streak butterfly, I guess it's called. And very tiny, but I had to photograph it because it was hot outside, and of course they move around. But I wanted to try colored pencils too, and I had ordered about 10 sheets of the 140-pound Arches watercolor paper, but it was supposed to be for colored pencil, but I cut it all down to make my own journal.
Nice. Very nice. Like that. Thank you. Marty, you're up.
Okay. So I'll try to make this quick too. Just for those who are doing clouds, I did this little cloud ditty. Can you see it? And, it was really just about making them look like shapes and like identifying. What I did was I identified really lightly in pencil the outer shape of the cloud, and then added blue in the way that the last student said, with water first and then little droplets. This page I'm just really happy about. It has no drawing whatsoever in it, but it was dark, it was nighttime, and I was sitting inside my back room with the screen door open, and I was listening to sounds. And so I wrote down the predominant sounds. I wrote down all the regular metadata. Then I wrote down the feelings and memories that I experienced from those sounds. And then I also wrote down what I wasn't hearing. So in that setting during the day, what do I usually hear and what was absent? So that was kind of fun. I really enjoyed that one. Then my husband and I were cutting, and Cy also was helping us cut some trees down, and he found a bird's nest. I'd never drawn a bird's nest before, so I struggled with that a lot, but it's okay so far. And then I was doing some experimenting. I got my Lamy fountain pen, and I didn't realize that it comes loaded with a cartridge of blue ink. Blue is okay, but it's also not waterproof. So I did one more, a map of my backyard, all in Lamy ink, and I'm not going to be able to do watercolor on it, so I'm just going to go in colored pencils and work with that instead. But I love the pen. It writes really well. It feels great in the hand, and yeah. So
fantastic. You can try going in with just a little bit of water on a brush, and you can do the blue wash by pulling the color from the ink. Try that on a scrap paper first, but it'll end up looking like an architectural drawing, with all the blue. But that would be fun too.
Yeah, cool.
I have a mental blank or a block against blue ink because I had a really mean boss in my 20s who wrote nasty notes in blue ink, so I can't use blue ink. But
yeah, no, I prefer black as well. And I just really briefly want to say I am just blown away, almost to tears, by how generous and risk-taking this whole group of students have been. It's been so exciting today to see you all. So thank you for everybody being so brave.
That's well said. I couldn't say it better myself. Thank you, everyone. Well, I'll do, I was going to talk just a little bit about tools that can help you in your practices. And then I'll go ahead and send out, an invite to a meetup maybe in a month. Let's see what changes and things we can do. And I can also talk with you individually if someone's struggling with like Jan, the black, or Michelle, we can have a sky day. And then I'm going to put in the chat right now. I'll be emailing this link, but this is to the feedback form, which I'd love for you all to fill out, please. So for tools, what I'm going to just show you a few things that I think are really helpful for naturalists. Michelle, who had to leave, she was talking about, phones, iPhones particularly have fantastic cameras, and they're just a really great tool. You can use them to record things, take pictures, have all your information, and they do a fantastic job. The other tool that I'm just super fond of, I'm gonna bring my bag over here. There, so I use binoculars, and I would highly recommend investing in a pair. You can go from anything from pretty inexpensive to like the top end. These are Swarovskis, and what I love about them, and so whatever kind of binoculars you end up with, look for ones that close focus. So there's lots of different parameters, and I'm happy to consult with anybody who wants to look into it. But these guys, even though they're 10 power, 10 by 42, I can focus within about 6 feet. So that means butterflies, bugs, and things like that. Or if I just want to bring something closer. And the other thing is to look for ones that you can hold easily with one hand. And so I've trained myself to hold and I'll look and drop and look and drop, and I can sketch with the other hand. And you'll train yourself to hold them up, look down, look back, look down. If that's too difficult, you can see back here, I also have a spotting scope on a tripod. Some binoculars, like I could get an adapter, and these could be put on a tripod as well. So then you don't have to hold them at all. But then you have to carry that, right? So that's not lightweight. So I think binoculars for me are the perfect tool. You can also do a trick, turn them over and look this way, and they'll act like a microscope. So that's another binocular trick. So there's, everything from $200 really good Pentax binoculars. I think John Muir-Laws recommends that have a super close focus to, these are definitely the kind of top end. These are Swarovski's newest. They're called NL Pures, and they cost like what an inexpensive car costs, right? So like $2,800, $2,900. So I know, but so for me, it's a tool. I've always had them. Those are great ones that Marty's got there. Yep. So whatever
These were
works.
like $45 or something, I think, and I'm enjoying them. Yeah.
Yep. Whatever works, right? So for me, I used to lead birding tours, and I like to have the best tool possible. And I'm just a bit of a nerd when it comes to cameras and binoculars and things. Just cry once, they say, right? Ugh. So the other tools that I like to have, so on my field bag here, I keep a little, this is just a little clip with a few things. So I've got a little, this is my dad's, a little leather, used to hold I think it held a compass at some point, but I keep my pocket loop and a tape measure. And that just fits in my little leather thing there. And then I always have a good knife for sharpening pencils or cutting things or whatever. And then a miniature, I keep my miniature Swiss Army knife, which has scissors. Terrible blades, really weak blades. That's why I keep a better one. But the scissors can come in handy for cutting things. So other little tools. And then I have a bag in my kit where I keep a few extra things. We talked about, so extra ink. Here's a fun little tip. You can get these at Ace Hardware. It's a little mirror on a telescoping thing. So you can look in bird nests and things. I think they're used by plumbers. Actually, I'm not sure who uses them, but they're like a couple of bucks. And then, as someone else already pointed out, thank you very much. The salt, I keep a little thing of salt to make texture if I want to. I often forget I have it with me though. And a little tiny thing of glue, PVA glue, if you want to put, attach things into your journal or glaze over a dried leaf or something. PVA, it's just Elmer's in a little thing. So those are just, that's basically it in my bag besides my paints and my pens. I use this is just, I don't often use all of these. This lovely pen holder was my dad's, and I have his Parker mechanical pencil. My dad was an engineer, so maybe that's where I get my love of all this stuff. But so Parker pen and pencil, and then I put a few others, but I hardly ever use them except the pencil I do use. And that's it. I don't carry a lot of stuff. Just try to keep it simple. I'm not getting any younger, so that's as big as a bag as I want to carry. If I carry a big bag, I'm going to fill it up. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention. This is just in the bag. It's 2 pieces of old yoga mat, and that's my version of a chair. So if it's wet or the rock's hard, I always have those in my bag, so that I've got something to sit on, which helps. Because like I said, not getting any younger, those rocks hurt more. So, and Kathy's saying you have the supplies listed in my book. Yes, so there's a long list in the back of all the various things that I've found useful over time. That way, we had someone share last week as well, the great lighted Goulet pens magnifier, which I probably won't carry it with me because I just don't want to add more, but I'm still going to get one. Maybe I'll, like when I'm just in my truck, then I don't have to worry too much about weight. I keep a bag in my vehicle. It's an old photography bag called Domke. It's just a canvas bag, and that's where I keep my library. So all of our field guides for wherever we go are in that bag, and we keep it in the truck. So we always have them with us. And then like if we're going to the mountains, I'll swap out, take out the desert books, put in the mountain species. But there's always a bird guide in there. There's always plants, animal tracks, all sorts, the geology, whatever is in that bag. And it's really useful. Then I've always got them with me. And, obviously I've gone to a lot of apps on my phone for birds and stuff. Merlin is great. It's free. Those are the birds from Cornell University's app called Merlin. But if this craps out, I still want to have my paper copies. As Grace's probably goes old school, new school as well. Both of us really like that. So I know those are just little tips that I found are useful. So someone put in, Kathy, yes, the Pentax Papilio are the great $300 binoculars, great for close-ups. They're about that big, same size as, wouldn't be surprised if they were very similar in size to the ones Marty held up. So binoculars will really enhance your nature journaling. And just, they're fun, it's spying on things without bothering them. So, well, I think we're going to wrap up because Grace and I have to get going for Grace's premiere on YouTube. That'll be fun. That's on overlandexpo.com virtual, right? Sweet.
Yes.
So we're going to go catch that and see Grace's camping setup with her $500 vehicle, which is really good.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone so much. I had an amazing time. This is the one thing that's, we're in an impossible situation, right? There's no way we would have all come together for this class. It would have been too expensive for you all to fly. Plus we'd use all that fossil fuel. So wouldn't have met you otherwise. But I would love to be there in person. It's ridiculous. So this is the Zoomiverse. It's the new reality. So at some point we'll hopefully cross paths in nature. If not, I'm going to set up in about a month, we'll just have another optional check-in, and feel free to email me questions, whatever. I'm happy to help with issues, frustrations, or if you have an aha you want to share with the group, I can pass that on. And don't forget your private link to the page on my website with all of this information. I'll keep adding things there. So everybody,
you very-
maybe we can unmute and say
Bye.
goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful
Bye,
rest of
thank
the week.
you.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Keep
all.
journaling.
Bye, y'all. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you so much.